Romance and Saga 2 is a complicated JRPG. Due to how unforgiving it can be, I believe many new players can have even more fun playing this game when going in with a basic understanding of its various systems. But if you want a truly blind experience, you may find it more rewarding, albeit time-consuming, to jump in and figure out these systems for yourself. Knowledge truly is power in the SaGa series. This series of videos is based on the remaster for PC, consoles, and mobile, since that's the only official way to play in English. It includes updated visuals and music, some extra content, and a few new quality of life features, although nearly all the concepts discussed in this video also apply to the original Super Famicom release. No stats, characters, or core mechanics were changed for the remaster. With that out of the way, let's discuss combat and formations in Romance and Saga 2. Combat is similar to most turn-based JRPGs. You've got your physical attacks based on which weapons a character has, spells, and options to defend or flee. That's nothing out of the ordinary, so I'll focus on what makes the game, well, a SaGa game. For one, fleeing from regular enemies always works, though watch out you don't trigger the battle again right away since enemies walk around in the dungeons. That's right, no random battles here. In fact, it's pretty easy to dodge the majority of enemies, and grinding too much can actually get you in trouble since enemies scale with your level. The game is well known for punishing you for grinding, but that's not quite true. As long as you focus on a few weapon types and use plenty of magic in most fights, you'll be just fine. What hurts you is not leveling enough over the course of many fights, since weapons and magic level up based on usage. I go into a lot more detail about this in my stats and leveling video if you're interested. Also, bosses have tiers of difficulty, and they can only get so strong, so you can grind for them in the late game if you're having trouble. In the early or mid game though, if you keep dying on a boss, you probably need to change up your strategy. Alright, back to combat. Your party member's speed matters a lot and can be changed by using the different formations, which I'll discuss in the next section. Knowing which order your characters will attack in is key to strategizing, since enemies can do a lot of damage and you'll need to heal often, especially in the early game and in boss fights. Also, there's no randomness or ranges of speed. A faster character will always attack before slower characters. There's also priority, which is a feature of certain formations and lets your party members always move before the enemy. Again, I'll explain this more in a bit. You've got a few options for healing. Most magic schools have a healing spell, and your stash in Avalon Castle comes with lots of healing bombs, which you can equip on your party members for use in battle. Note that they can only use what they have equipped, and each healing item takes up a weapon slot, so spells are generally the best way to heal. The bombs are good for emergencies though. Like in some other JRPGs, HP is restored after every battle, though your MP is not. There are several items in the game that restore MP, such as poison slickers, and your stash in Avalon also has a bunch of these ready for you at the start of the game, along with even stronger MP items. That sure is handy. In fact, there is no way to buy consumables like this. You have to conserve what you've got or find more in chests. Your stash will get restocked after each generation shift, so you can save them up for the endgame. And that's what I'd recommend. You shouldn't need to use all the MP restoring items you're given for most of your journeys, but you'll definitely need them in the endgame if you're a heavy magic user. And if you're not a heavy magic user in Romance and Saga 2, I admire your courage. You'll eventually be able to farm poison slickers once you get access to the Maze of Memory, but they're not exactly easy to come by, and I recommend using them sparingly throughout the game. I like to take a bunch with me, but leave even more back in my stash. By the end of my first playthrough, I ended up needing almost all of them. This game is not forgiving. A formation determines how your party is arranged on the field in battle and may provide unique benefits and potential drawbacks. You start with the basic free-for-all formation, which, go figure, is the worst one in the game. It offers no benefits, so you'll want to switch to the Imperial Cross, the only formation unlocked automatically in the story, as soon as you get it. Formations apply various effects or modifiers to your party members. Some of these affect everyone, while most only apply to certain positions in the formation. This allows for some tactics, and you'll want to arrange your characters to take advantage of the formation you're using. The most important modifier is targeting. Many formations have positions where the occupant won't be targeted often by enemy attacks, and other positions that will be. This is how you prevent your more fragile characters, such as mages, from taking too much damage. I'll go into this in more detail in the last section. Formations are so different from each other that you might change your strategy completely after unlocking a new one if you choose to use it. That brings me to most formations are unlocked by using different classes for your Emperor. Some classes in the game have a formation associated with them, and after playing as an Emperor of that class, the formation will be available in the next generation. This is a little unintuitive, but that's how it works. Check out my video on the generation system to learn more about this important mechanic. This should encourage you to choose classes you haven't used before at the start of every generation shift. You can also purposely kill your Emperor to choose one of your other party members to become the new Emperor. Or you can wipe your whole party to get a random list of classes to pick from. This is a good way to unlock a lot of formations early on, which can be a big help. A few formations are unlocked in different ways, and there's lots of resources on the web that explain each of them. Instead of spending time on this, I want to talk about some of the formations I find most useful. First of all, I won't discuss every formation in detail. While the game's descriptions are minimal, there's plenty of guides online that tell you how each one works. I'm going to go through the formations I use the most and talk about why they're useful for me, but I encourage you to try them all and find what works best for you. I might dismiss a formation due to my playstyle, but it might fit yours to a T. The amount of variety and choice is the best thing about this game after all. Alright, let's get down to it. The first formation you unlock, besides the standard free-for-all, is the Imperial Cross. It's the perfect formation for beginners, and you get it automatically during the early part of the story. Imperial Cross is a cross formation with your Emperor in the center. The Emperor will get targeted the least, while the character in front will be targeted the most. It's a perfect place to put a tanky unit like the heavy infantry available from the start at Castle Avalon. In fact, I recommend every starting party have one heavy infantry to soak up hits. He'll have reduced speed, but that's no problem for a tank, and he'll also auto-defend at the end of every turn to take even less damage. The character in the back also auto-defends after every turn and gets a large speed reduction, but they will be very hard to target. This is a perfect spot for a mage or healer, since early game spellcasters can't take many hits and need to avoid being targeted. A good strategy is to put a water magic user there who can heal with life water and deal damage with another magic type. Check out my Magic and Spells video for more spellcasting recommendations. The other two spots are good for your faster physical attackers or battle mage classes like Crusaders once you unlock them. The Imperial Cross works well for the first half of the game or so and should give you breathing room to try out the different weapons, skills, and spells. By the mid-game though, you might feel like you're not able to deal damage fast enough, and that's where the Rapid Stream formation comes in. Rapid Stream is unlocked by using the Armed Merchant class as your Emperor, and I'll say it up front, it's the best formation for most of the game. I ain't kidding. It gives priority to all your party members, which means they'll always attack before the enemy, but it lowers their evasion as a trade-off. This one is fantastic, since it's the only formation that gives priority to every party member. This can alter your strategy completely, and for the better. You can heal right at the start of the turn if needed, and do all your damage before ever taking a hit. This is every bit as good as it sounds. The key here is all your party members being able to take a hit, so they can be healed at the start of the next turn if needed. There's plenty of armor in the game for this, and you should be able to win most battles in 1 or 2 turns without risking anyone dying. Where the Rapid Stream falters is in some boss battles, mostly near the end of the game. It doesn't provide any defense or targeting reduction to your weaker party members, and you might not be able to keep everyone alive long enough to deal significant damage. The Mu Palisade formation, learned from the SaGa clansmen, can help with this. Each character has their speed greatly reduced, making them likely to attack after the enemy. However, every character also auto-defends until their turn, meaning they won't take nearly as much damage. This can be a good choice for those tougher boss battles, but I think the Goblin offense formation is even better. The Goblin offense is one of the few new additions to the Western release, and is found late in the game in the remaster exclusive Maze of Memory. So, if you're emulating the original version, you won't have access to this one. As usual, the in-game description for this one isn't entirely accurate. It says that all fighters will get an attack and speed boost, but there's more to it than that. All fighters except your Emperor become harder to target, which is a huge advantage in the late game when your Emperor is able to take a lot of hits, so give him your best armor. The fighters at the top and bottom positions will get speed and melee attack boosts, which is nice, but the two beside your Emperor will get the same speed and melee boosts and also get a nice boost to bows. So if you have any archers, that's where to put them. Spellcasters don't get any boosted damage, just like with other formations, but the speed boost and reduced targeting will be helpful for them. And of course, your Emperor gets all those boosts, but will take the majority of hits. This is probably the best formation in the game for most party setups. Having several positions that don't get targeted often is such a great benefit, and everyone getting a speed boost is essential to surviving tougher battles. The formations I've mentioned, especially Rapid Stream, worked so well for my playstyle that I haven't needed any of the others, but see what works best for you. The more defensive options might suit your playstyle better, especially if you're not using magic and don't have a ton of healing capability. Finally, keep in mind that losing party members isn't the end of the world. It's easy to replace them and can often be a benefit since you get to pick a new and hopefully better class. That about covers combat and formations in Romance and SaGa 2. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, comments, or correction, please leave them in the comments below.